Watchbox Studios at the 1916 Company. I am Tim Masso, and this is Watches Tonight. This evening, we have Sean and Nick on the switcher, you guys in the box. We talk $5,000 watches that are actually awesome, and this is the thing, I'm excited about these. We're not settling, but we're also not going to get robbed. We chat live, and I share your wrist shots tonight on Watches Tonight. And if you enjoy this program, please follow me on Instagram, where I am Tim_Masso. My account has just roared past 52,000 followers. In fact, we are way along the line to 53,000 right now. Help me get to the big 53. That's Tim_Masso on Instagram. Let's see who's in the box. Edward Ledden of Sweden, Mark S. of Brooklyn, Enrique Cassiano, Joseph Zamora, Soma R, Pizza Man, Jim Millett, Arto Charles from New York City, Eric R. We have Mateo C. Watches with Dennis from Kansas, Amin Reviews, Slow Boy, Eric Silver, and Alessio. Welcome, Thomas Burnett, and James C. James, I am always of one mind with you. We like the same stuff on the Talking Time with Tim Masso Facebook group. Viewer wrist shots number one, I asked, you answered. We have Wakar A, who rules the wrist shots with his BMW M4 competition and IWC tribute to Paul Weber, the 5050, I think it's the 5050-03. I am jealous on both counts. Eric O goes big, trading his Rolex Daytona two-tone for the latest white gold Daytona Oysterflex. That's the first one of those I've seen in the wild. Omer S and his Vacheron Constantin Patrimony are sky high in flight. Kunal M combines his French Sartori Biard with his British Bentley Turbo R. Super cool. And by the way, more on Sartori Biard a little bit later in the show. Peter L, also of the Talking Time with Tim Masso Facebook group, both of those guys are, visits with a rare Jaeger LeCoultre Master Compressor Diving Chronograph. Send your wrist shots to MondayMailbag at thewatchbox.com. Just your pieces on these pixels. All right, let's see who else is joining the box. We're going to have a good audience tonight. Scotty H from Tulsa, Oklahoma, or thereabout. Karate Chop, Miroslav from Europe. Scott is in there. Horo High 369 from Miami. Alexei Simola of Finland, and Junior Johnson from Michigan. Renside, Bastien, all of you, and by the way, Bastien, thank you for staying up late in France. We have some French watch content for you a little bit later on. So, $5,000 watches, still luxury, and I think it's important to keep that in perspective. I chose it because it's still a respectable number. It still seems like a lot of money to me, and for most people, this isn't throwaway money. It's a big commitment, but it also registers below common middle-class accoutrements, things in the United States like Boston Whalers, motorcycles, snowmobiles, and above-ground pools. All things that cost solidly more than $5,000. So if you've got the money for that, you've got the money for this. Now, some dogs even cost more than that. Many average adults can plan and execute a $5,000 watch purchase within the space of a year, not years, making this something fun we can do in the near term, even if we need to build up to it. Also, I chose the $5,000 price point because watches start to become more differentiated, feature-rich, and luxurious at that level. When shopping $1,000 to $3,000 watches, don't get me wrong, there are some good options, but features, movement, and quality, they tend to be more generic and uniform from brand to brand and model to model. So let's start, but not end, where we were about 2 weeks ago with Tudor. Honestly, in a world where Tudor of 2024 exists, the quality you get, really the machine for the money, I struggle to rationalize buying a Rolex, especially if it involves a markup or a really long wait. The Tudors are just that good, frankly, and prices are low, aftermarkets are sane and accessible, and warranties at 5 years match the crown. Let's see what you guys are saying in the box. Slow Boy Fuel Pump saying, never spend $5,000 on a dog. True, I would go with a rescue pug. That would be my choice right there. We have Enter Bruce 91. What's on your wrist today? I'm wearing my Henry J. Aquamaster Quartz. I'm wearing my Dan Reuter DR02. A little bit more on this later. This was custom made for me, but it was also the prototype of a short group watch we did for my Facebook group. Okay, so Black Bay 58 AG925, sterling silver. This came out in 2021. An ingenious bit of innovation with the silver case taupe dial. Taupe being both the dial and the bezel, by the way, Kinesi caliber, and Rolex-like thin profile. People had asked me for years why we don't see more silver-cased watches. In the end, I suppose the answer was a lack of imagination, because it's not that hard to do. The solitary mistake here is going to be the display case back. I'd prefer some sort of cool engraving on solid sterling silver to a panoramic view of crudely stamped metal. So that's the one miss, but the good news is you don't have to look at it. I think it's a bit of a pander to people who don't quite realize that the case-back display over an ugly movement is sort of like getting coal for Christmas and being expected to like it. So this is still a bargain at $4,650 because we are getting a Tudor Canisi movement, we are getting a sterling silver case, we are getting something that is very exclusive to this brand and unlike anything anyone else is really making. 2 strap styles are offered. I recommend getting the leather to dress it up a little bit and then the NATO perhaps, and this isn't the kind of gooseneck NATO that's awkward. This is a more wearable NATO. That's the one you want to wear in the water. I wish a full sterling silver bracelet were offered because that would be too cool for school, and I would absolutely die to see and feel that on the wrist. But for now, that's a lot. A sterling silver diver that's not a giant U-boat, I am happy. By the way, there was a sterling silver U-boat that was giant. Okay, Black Bay 58 bronze. We're sticking with the 39mm caliber 5400s here. This also came out in 2021, which was a bumper year for great Tudors and cool metals. So we now get a full matched material bracelet. The bracelet is also bronze. The whole thing is very aluminum intensive, so patina forms, but it doesn't become crazy and green and corroded to the point that it looks like something off the deck of the Lusitania. That is for Panerai. This is a little bit more controlled. Now we also get the T-fit clasp. This was one of the first applications of it. So you have a sort of Rolex glide lock-like system, but over 8mm rather than 20. We get a strap that is standard, and so you get the bracelet, but you also get the strap, so you can change the look if you want. Personally, I think this is a great candidate for an aftermarket strap where you can get really creative with the colors and the materials, but you get a strap regardless from Tudor. Now, both configurations are handsome to me, so the choice is yours. Personally, I think the bracelet is so awesome that unless you do go with some really cool aftermarket piece, that's the only way to wear this. Now, patina can get serious but not out of control, and just to keep things firmly anchored in the real world, the case back is actually DLC steel. So you'll notice as they do patina, the case back stays sort of like golden toned, and the idea there is that unlike, say, a full bronze watch, it's not going to change the color of your wrist, especially if you just wear it on the strap. Now, I struggle to see the appeal of a no-date sub in a world where this exists. Just like I feel modern Tudor has made Rolex sort of redundant, why pay twice the price? Why wait? Why pay an aftermarket markup? And this is from a guy who will gladly sell you a Rolex at an aftermarket markup. I just think the Tudors are better. And I would say it really provokes legit second guessing of the industry's move away from anodized aluminum bezels, because this anodized aluminum and brown bronze looks really cool. And I can say the same for the current generation Omega Seamaster 300s, which aside from special variants have gone back to the anodized look, and I think it is just classically gorgeous. So this is great value, but also a very upscale looking watch. A lot of people will think it's gold, and frankly, almost everyone will think it costs more than it does, which is $4,875. Remember, you're getting a chronometer certified movement, 200-meter water resistance, anti-magnetic, highly shock resistant, and a 70-hour automatic winding power reserve. All right, jumping in, enter Bruce91 coming back, saying, my grail is an Omega Aquaterra 38mm in any dial color, but my budget at the moment is more 5KX. Okay, I can understand that. Abdul joining in from the Black Forest in Germany. BNS is in the box along with the Rancher. And Larry L, welcome guys. Welcome to all of you. It is good to have you in the box. You're my friends in cyberspace, and this is a real-time chat, so guys, keep chiming in. I always like to read your comments. Jumbo Jet Pilot saying, what's cool about sterling silver is that you can unpatina it periodically. Fun to watch it repatina in a different way than the previous. That's true. Important to remember, sterling silver only patinas because of the 6% copper content. Pure silver would not do that. Okay, now $5,000 watches, they're still luxury, but you can also get independent brand watches. Now this is where things get really interesting. interesting because I actually have my own venture into the world of independent watchmaking. No, I'm not making my own watch, but I did design one. And actually, the first time we did this was with my Dan Reuter DR02, and people liked that so much that Dan started getting orders for the Tim Masso look, and we wound up doing a 25-piece run for my Facebook group. Now, Armand Biard of Sartori Biard is an indie who makes watches that, up until his recent tourbillon, have mostly been very cost-controlled and I would say fairly priced. They're still fairly priced at the tourbillon level, but now we're talking big boy car money. But he's a French industrial designer and a self-taught artisan who specializes in fabricating hands, chapterings, rehaut, and sectors. And again, all of this is stuff he makes in-house. The dial bases are generally made by Comblamine or Kerry Voutilainen's Dial Factory, and I teamed up with Armand to make one of his classically affordable watches, but in my own style. He's building a special watch for my Facebook group, which is Talking Time with Tim Masso, that's a follow-up to, of course, the watch that I designed with Dan, which was all sorts of crazy colors, bright colors and royal blue. That was the first season Talking Time with Tim Masso Facebook watch. Now, the variants of this watch, I've actually got some renderings here. They're actually pretty awesome, with gray and gold, British racing green and gold, brown bronze, blue and purple, and actually red, I should say, red and purple. The colors, this doesn't do them justice, but the purple is sort of the core model and the one I love most. You can see physical watches are now starting to reach our members. That is the purple and gold. That's the one I'm going to be getting, and that was my original vision for this, but we decided to offer options with British racing green, and I would not be shocked if that winds up being the most popular with the group as a whole. We've also got a vivid red that really shocked me because I didn't think there'd be enough contrast between the rose gold and the red dial, but it came across really well. We've also got the brown bronze and then a gray for people who are a little bit more conservative in their tastes. Now, my goal with each of these collaborations is that 100% of the proceeds go to the creator, not to me. So I'm not making any money off of this. I'm in no rush to market myself. You know what I mean? I think when the time comes, if I have a fun new idea, it'll be something affordable. It'll be a t-shirt, it'll be a hat, it'll be something you can buy easily without having to save up for it. For now, this is all the creator, all the money goes to Armand, but it's more like a slow-moving patronage program for small makers that I admire and know personally. That's the key thing. They have to be my friends. I'm not Jean Arnault. I went to his very cool Independent Creatives Prize ceremony where he gave away 6 figures in money and a trophy to Raoul Pages. That was super cool, but I don't have the coins to do that or to fly in watch experts from around the world to sit on the jury. So I'm going to have to stick with this slow-moving sort of like indies that I love thing on my Facebook group. Now, the watches are based on that purple rose crosshair dial with skeletonized alpha hands. We made the chapter rings in gold, Breguet Arabic numerals, which I thought would look really good, brushed time tracks, and then like a coursed textured granular center. So it's got a very rough pebbly sort of center to it. Again, that's the one that I designed first and I like it best, but I think I'll be outvoted with the color variants ultimately and more people will choose those. And I do think British Racing Green is going to just like dominate. But we're only making 25 pieces, so there won't be too many of any given example. Power is automatic. It's 64 hours of power reserve. La Joux Perret's doing the movement. It's going to be 40 millimeters in steel and about 10.5 millimeters thick. The dial furniture is going to be by Armand himself. That's the part that he makes in-house. And then the remaining dial base is by Voutilainen's Comblamine Cadran, so basically Kerry Voutilainen dial making. And I want to maintain the series as a special bond between me and my group members. I didn't want to like offer this to just like anyone in cyberspace, so I didn't post like the link to buy it in the description below this. But if you go over to the Talking Time with Tim Masso Facebook group, you join, then we've got a special portal for group members who are ordering this. It looks like that. And basically I've posted a sticky at the top of the Facebook group so people who are watching this tonight can go in, join the group and find it easily. And then that sticky has the link that takes you to the purchase portal. 3,800 euros, so it's solidly less than Armand would charge for the same custom model built outside of this special run. And consider it, if you want an affordable point of entry to independent horology, something that I designed myself. A first name basis with your watchmaker. He's a very friendly and cool dude. He's also like 6.5 feet tall, so it's like like a little intimidating when you meet him in person, but he's the nicest dude in the world. It's a great tax return watch for the 2024 tax season, and again, it's solidly within the scope of our $5,000 or less price point. So guys, let me know what you think about that. If you're just watching this, sound off in the description below. Did I design a good watch? I don't know. Let me know. I'm very individual about these things. I could very easily have made something that only I think is cool. Okay, viewer wrist shot. By the way, Edward's saying next up should be a Richard Mille Talking Time with Tim Masso edition. I would challenge Richard Mille to make not the lightest watch or the most expensive watch, but the cheapest watch he has ever built. I would say, can you do an entirely plastic movement and a watch to match that weighs less than the Nadal and costs $5,000? Viewer wrist shots number 2. Sean M is in the Florida Keys. A natural environment with the JLC Polaris Mariner Memovox, a very cool follow-up to the Polaris Memovox. Lloyd K contributes a spectacular dive shot in the Dominican with his Doxa Sub 300T Professional and a very tiny spider crab friend. We have Caleb B and his Weiss Standard Issue Field Watch exploring Pasadena, California. Derek M shows his Grand Seiko GMT SBGJ 259 Urban Bamboo in its natural habitat, the urban environment. Eric N and Pepper the dog admire his unique Archinaut Arc 2 Fortites acrylic lacquer automotive paint dial. Send your wrist shots to mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com to see your pieces on these pixels. Nick asking, Tim, would you do a collaboration with Tudor? I think the real question there is, would Tudor do a collaboration with me? I don't think that phone call is ever going to come, but Tudor, if you're out there, you know, mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com. What else is going on in the box? We have Insane Guy adding here. Guy can talk, that's a fact. That's why I've been doing this for 10 years. And Fabian Cruz, Ola from Atlanta. I used to live in Atlanta, actually. Very cool. Okay, so now $5,000 watches. Oris has been on a roll the last 3 years with its Caliber 400 across many models, but unlike many more elite brands such as Parmigiani, Roger Dubuis, and Chopard, Oris watch design has been as appealing as the watchmaking inside. The ProPilot X Caliber 400 laser is a 2024 model that builds on the hugely successful 2022 Oris ProPilot X integrated bracelet watch, which was priced right. For many folks, the Kermit, which is also in this series, is just too much, too silly, too bright. But they still want some color on their sports watch, and the new laser etched dial essentially acts like an oxidation layer that absorbs certain wavelengths of light and reflects others selectively. There's no dye, no PVD, no paint, no lacquer, no pigment of any kind. There's also a very nice directional texture from top to bottom, so this is Oris doing something that's distinctive, different, and still priced affordably. The clasp is really distinctive, substantial and clever at a price point where most watches that are sold at this price employ some sort of cheap and generic off-the-shelf design. The Oris clasp both looks and feels very premium and original. The bracelet feels the same way. It makes the watch look and feel tangibly more expensive than it is. Now the watch is just as appealing with titanium construction, 39mm measurement, that's the diameter, and the package of watch and movement is formidable. Caliber 400, automatic winding, exclusive to Oris, large enough to fill a big case back, 5 days of power reserve, twin barrels in series, 2,250 Gauss anti-magnetic, accurate to -3 +5 seconds a day, 5 position adjusted like a chronometer, full silicone escapement, and a 10-year service interval. For that reason, the warranty on the watch is also 10 years, which should be the new industry standard, because compared to a lot of the other brands out there, that's cheap. Patek, 2 years? Really? Really? Now, $5,200, but you better believe that knowing you guys, I expect you to negotiate the roughly 3.8% discount it would take to put that watch on your wrist for a $5,000 price cap. I have faith, guys. Don't prove me wrong. All right, what's going on in the box now? We have lots of friends in there. Justin D. Tim, what are your thoughts on the Chopard LUC Pro 1 GMT for $5,000. Nice watch. Just understand a lot of these Pro 1 GMTs are true GMTs, where the bezel is used for calculating. A lot of them are not true dual times, and that you can set the 12 and the 24 separately. They don't work that way. Madi asking, Tim, what would you choose between a Longue Unzone, a small second, Vacheron Traditionnel, small second, or Chopard Louis Lee Chopard dress watch with Geneva seal? Honestly, there are a lot of Louis Lee Chopard models, and I would go back to the original 1996 with the caliber 196, and that would be my choice right there. I would say if you could find the Cédric Jonnaire Abyss with the Chopard movement, that would be the choice. If you can find it, if you can find it. All right, Jumbo Jet Pilot saying, I think that Kermit is a winner too, and I don't disagree. It would be my choice with the bright green dial. For some people though, a Muppet on your watch is just too silly. I understand, I respect, but I disagree. What else is going on here? Tukamuka, Tim, Oris rules. What do you think of an Oris field watch? Well, I'd say the field watch genre is very crowded, but the Oris is an excellent entry in that space. But look around, because you've got a lot of choices, including true vintage, by the way. Jumping back to our regularly scheduled program, Longines blew me away with last month's Conquest Heritage Central Power Reserve. Based on a 1959 design, this dress watch packs a stunning dial design that radiates outward from the power reserve indicator at center. Now, the indicator is coaxial with the hands and keeps track of the 72-hour power reserve, which is impressive in its own right at this price point. 2 discs, not 1, 2, rotate on a common axis independently to create a changing and discharging dynamism. So basically, in both directions, adding and subtraction, you've got this cool contrary movement. 2 discs, inner and outer. Really neat and really dynamic. Now, a little bit like the power reserve that Patek Philippe used on the 3710 Nautilus of 1998. We have applied gold-plated indices and hands to match to create a rich upscale appearance that vaults this humble $3,800 dress watch into a higher echelon of sophistication and, frankly, appeal. I would also say the date at 12 o'clock gives the watch upscale majesty and might challenge even date haters to reconsider whether they like a date on the dial of their dress watch. Photos don't do it justice, but there's a plexi-like glass box, super camber to the sapphire crystal, that is similar to that on recent Tag Heuer Carreras, and it does give you that vintage plexi look. Case profiling is a winner, with elegance often missing at this price point, and the 19mm lug spacing pairs with a 38mm case size that is surprisingly compact for a modern watch to project true vintage presence. And I would also say that's important because while Longines goes heavy on heritage design, a lot of the watches that are not super strict vintage reeditions often feel too big or too thick to be truly vintage inspired. There's a cumbersomeness to many heritage Longines watches and a size and a thickness that just is unbecoming of a vintage inspired watch and takes me out of the suspension of disbelief. This is a lot more convincing in terms of size and proportions. There's also a hyper-conservative version with no gold on the dial, but I'd probably go with either the cream and gold or the black and gold. This really looks like it could lock horns with a Vacheron at multiples of its price and win the competition on sheer elegance. The movement isn't exotic, but with a 72-hour power reserve indicator of unique design, free-sprung balance, silicone hairspring, hacking, quick-set date, and a truly global service network to have this thing serviced regionally and quickly anywhere you live, there's a lot to like. And remember, it's backed by the might of the Swatch Group, so someone will always be around to provide parts and service. Chris L. joining in from Manila, getting up early. Thank you so much. We got JTK and Nate Dogg. Welcome, dudes. Fortis isn't a brand we discuss often on this channel, but Breitling's smaller neighbor across town in Grenchen seems to have recovered in full from its 2017 financial duress. The Stratoliner chronograph is a gorgeous watch that looks like something Mark Braun and Mark Newson might have designed collaboratively. Designed in 2022 and launched that year, the 41mm Fortis Stratoliner S41 is one of the most charismatic dials I've seen in years. Can we go full screen on that? It's really special. There's a couple of different versions, but each variant seems more gorgeous than the last, and they seem to be pitch perfect with these designs. It's not minimalist per se, but this kind of anti-instrument aesthetic where it doesn't look like it was pulled off a flight deck, it's a rare artistic statement in the often derivative pilot's watch genre. And technically speaking, there's actually a lot to love. Start with steel. It's recycled. Unusual, but hey, in the environment, every little bit helps. Continue to the massive block bracelet and its sliding adjustment. Look at those removable links. Look at the slider. Look how thick the swing arm is with the twin trigger release. Honestly, it looks to be worthy of Zinn or Damasco. It's that good. It's heavy too, and I can vouch for that. Lug attachment is by massive screws and bars. No corners cut. It also looks wonderfully unrefined and mid-century, so it's got a sort of butch, anti-artisanal, pure utilitarian aesthetic outside with more of a modern, like Berlin haute design on the dial. A very neat combination. And you can see also that Fortis opted against a conforming end link in order to enable maximum articulation of the bracelet and give it sort of a mid-century straight lug look. Each dial is toned and textured and monoplanar in that it doesn't have a lot of depth, in a way that seems more Apple Store chic than Apple Watch cheap. This is a successful design gambit by Fortis. Color use is sparing and excellent. Look at the date right there with a sort of salmon orange that's really cool. Lume is ferocious on all variants. The highlighted graphics reference the new movement's stress testing, which took place on the edge of space. The Werk 17 movement is 7750 derived, but revised by La Joux and Canisi, an impressive parentage, to deliver more technical interest than a standard value. First, power reserve is now 60 hours. It is in-house adjusted to ISO 3159, so basically international 5-position 24-hour chronometer standards, and over a 2-week period. It has a column wheel conversion that looks really sharp. If you look right there, you can actually see one of the levers that is lodged in the column wheel has a roller bearing, which is way sophisticated and not expected. All this is protected down to 200 meters, so you can really swim with this thing, and it's accepted by the Swedish Space Corporation, and Fortis actually has a long and respectable history of spaceflight and aviation, so it comes from an authentic lineage. There's a magnifier / viewing port on the tinted case back that allows you to get a better view of the column wheel, and I am pushing the limits here since pricing is $5,650 with the bracelet and $5,200 without. But if you can't bargain for a discount, and I still believe in you guys, I think you can, there's always pre-owned where you can find these for well under $5 grand. And I think this is one of the real design winners of tonight's program. Let's see what's going on here in the chat box. You guys are filing through. We've got Patel Philippe joining in. Good afternoon. We got Cam, soft drinks of choice. We have JTK and Dave in Vienna asking Tim, if someone made you CEO of Breguet for a day, what's the one thing you'd change or do? One, well, he says one or two. One, I would come up with some sort of organic, beautiful looking case, and I would hire Mark Newson to do it and pay him whatever he wanted, because this is a Swatch Group and we've got the money. Enough of these round coined cases with pastille lugs. They're hard to wear, they're frumpy, they look like something an 85-year-old guy with like a prune wrist would design. They're okay, but they shouldn't be the whole collection. Give me something that looks like rippling muscle underneath skin, something that's almost like an Olympic athlete in watch form, something that's got a little bit of menace in addition to the elegance. And then I would also publicize their watchmakers, the people who do their gem setting, their engraving, their enameling, their guilloche. Make these people stars. If there's anything we've learned about successful independence, it's that you have to make your craftsmen and your chief creative folks stars. Stop pretending Abraham Louis Breguet is still alive. He's been dead for 201 years. Make people who are alive charismatic and presentable, the face of the company, because a lot of them are very young, very hip, enthusiastic, and they're going to go on to make their own watches someday, which will reflect wonderfully on Breguet as a sort of Formula 3 for the Formula 1 of the independent watch-making world. And it would give them a credibility that a dead founder from 2 centuries ago will never grant them. So that's what I would change at Breguet. Okay, Baume Mercier, another brand we rarely discuss here. But last year's Riviera Azure 300-meter diver was quietly awesome and overlooked. Its blue sapphire dial is seriously expensive looking, but isn't in fact. And the dive bezel is loomed all the way around, which I really like. At just under 12 millimeters thick, this is one of the thinnest 300-meter divers available. It's not another modern-day Gerald Genta clone, because the 50-year-old Riviera line dates back to an authentic, faceted and integrated bracelet design from 1973. That's not that original watch, but trust me, it exists. The 42-millimeter steel Riviera Azure costs only $4,500 with the integrated bracelet. And there's even a quick release system for rapidly swapping between the rubber strap and the bracelet, which I love, because swapping with tools is tough to do and hard to handle on the fly if you're on vacation. There's a version pictured here with the combination of the soft patina tones and the blue smoked dial that is actually a online boutique exclusive, but a similar watch is available for a few $100 less from physical Baume & Mercier dealers. The Baumatic movement is a Val-Fleurier construction that you can also get if you want to pay more in the $14,600 IWC Ingenieur Titanium, or you can pay over $10,000 less to get it in the Riviera, where it seems like a great value, because the Baumatic movement has 5 days of power reserve. And in the Baume & Mercier watch, it's a real match. A great technical distinction in a class where Solida and Soprod and ETA movements with 38 to 42 hour power reserves are still very common. And with an 8-year warranty, you get the same level of protection as the IWC. So, hey, why pay the premium? Look, smoked sapphire dial, a wonderful use of ecru contrasting tones, an anodized aluminum bezel insert in 2 tones, rubber bumpers on the dodecagon bezel that allow you to more easily turn it. This thing rocks. And again, with 51 years of history behind it, it's not like Baume & Mercier just designed this thing to join the suddenly fashionable integrated bracelet fad. They were plank owners, originals in that space. Okay, viewer wrist shots number 3. By the way, one more thing. There's a scalding hot perpetual calendar version of this that's way outside the scope of our pricing, but that version of the Riviera costs 20 grand. Still, if you're on an AP waiting list, get ready to get gouged on a used Royal Oak Quantième Perpetuel, or to sit for years while AP puts you in the queue. So you either pay too much pre-owned or you wait forever, and AP will absolutely give you attitude about buying the watch. So consider this with a 5-day power reserve instead. I guarantee if you walk into a Baume & Mercier dealer and you order this, you will be a hero. Whereas if you go into AP and you ask for the Royal Oak QP, they're gonna laugh at you. Okay. Jumping back into wrist shots number 3, Brian M. gives us a rare double Archnaut night with his own Arc 2 Fordite at sea on a cruise. Matthew C. combines my favorite things with Zenith, the color green, and Mercedes-Benz. Danny N. demonstrates impeccable taste with the JLC Master Chrono Calendar. Peter P. is at the Mendenhall Glacier in Alaska with his Rolex Submariner, a gift from his father. He sent me another awesome shot of gutting something he killed on a hunt. It was just too graphic to feature. We also have Ed D, who keeps the faith with a purist's vintage field watch and real deal patina. Send your shots at mondaymailbag@thewatchbox.com to see your watch on this box. Okay, $5,000 watches. Nomos. Once the German king of style in the sub $5,000 range, Nomos finds itself facing more challenges today. But watches like the inspired Autobahn of 2018 rise to the challenge. At 41 millimeters in stainless steel, the Autobahn is full-sized in a way that's a break with Nomos' sub 40 millimeter tradition. A full collection is offered with several different color treatments, more in a moment. Its dished dial design reflects automotive inspiration from historic banked pre-war racetracks like Indianapolis, Brooklands, and Monza. The dished slope is echoed if you look in the small second subdial. Dial texture is very finely grained for a subtle matte aesthetic. Midnight blue is my favorite color offering, but there are several. Automotive style combines here with a speedometer or tachometer looking sort of time conveyance that also glows really cool, like the electrochromic Chrysler dashboards of the early 60s. Now, Werner Eislinger's case design emphasizes blended lug profiles. They are all of one with the case band, though not quite like a Calatrava or Portugieser. He also features an exceptionally narrow bezel that's the same width of the lugs, monoblock case construction, so everything loads through the back, and again, that speedometer-like layout. A bracelet version called the Director's Cut arrived in 2021 with a couple of other new dial designs, same $4,800 price. Now, Caliber DUW Deutsche Ehrenwerke 6101 is a manufacturer automatic with bidirectional quickset, hacking seconds, 42 hours of power reserve, and again, a bidirectional quickset, so you can set the date both ways. It also has the uncommon distinction of Nomos' own escapement, hairspring, and balance wheel. They call it the swing system. It's an uncommon thing for a brand outside of Swatch to actually make. 100-meter water resistance also lends the Autobahn exceptional versatility. Priced at $4,800, the Autobahn is likely the most fun you can have with German automotive hardware for under 10 grand, although I did find you a smart car for about equal money. The choice is yours. Okay, Mühle Glashütte, all sorts of brands we never talk about, but tonight they're getting their due. Launched only days ago, the Sportivo compass date makes me wonder whether somebody in Germany scoped the custom chronograph I designed in 2022 with Dan Reuter, and really, it's uncanny, or at least the color palette. I certainly never saw this before. That said, it's a great look, and the watch is the clear style-first offering among today's curation. The explosive color combo is a good match for a sports watch. It's cheerful, and the textured gradient dial looks far more expensive than the retail price of Euro 2,300 to 2,550. However, the 24-month warranty is no longer competitive. That's my one bone to pick with this, but boy does it look the business. The ceramic capped bezel can be used with the hour hand and the location of the sun to determine the points of the compass, which is super cool. A bracelet can also be specified. That's the 2,550 euro version. The Sportivo is powered by a Sellita SW200. It's water resistant to 300 meters and 42.5 millimeters in diameter. At 11.4 millimeters in thickness, it's actually quite attractive in its thinness, and one of the great advantages often conferred by using a basic ETA-derived automatic caliber is that you do get a pretty thin watch. Think non-manufacturer movement Oris or pre-in-house Tudor, and you see what I mean. Grand Seiko of Japan. Depending on your perspective, I may have saved the best for last. Many would call the SBGX 343 and SBGX 341 tough quartz, a Japanese take on the Rolex Milgauss, and I'm not going to argue the point. Even the Grand Seiko reference numbers seem to reference, pun intended, the original 1950s Milgauss 6541 and 6543. From a, I'm going to say this, from a fan of the brand, and I'm just going to say it's far from a Japanese Milgauss. The SBGX is, after all, 40,000 ampere per meter, not Milgauss, which would be Rolex's nominal 80,000 ampere per meter. But there's a ton to recommend to the Grand Seiko. The Grand Seiko pair has, among other things, a hand-finished case that you cannot get on a Rolex watch of any price, and outstanding hand-finished details inside and out, with dial detail that reflects manual fabrication of the parts, then hand placement and caulking, not found on any modern Milgauss. And in fact, if you want a handcrafted Rolex dial, you're going to have to get one that is fully gem paved. Grand Seiko gives you that for under $4 grand. Now, the white dial here is my clear favorite. Its Rolex inspiration is obvious, and even the two-tone lume of the Grand Seiko, which you can see right here, looks like a tribute of sorts to the white Milgauss, which does the same thing in having a couple of different colors of luminescence. Now, at 11.7 millimeters thick and 45.3 millimeters lug to lug, the Grand Seiko makes the Rolex, frankly, look fat. With 200-meter water resistance, you've got twice the Milgauss and the legendary 9F quartz caliber. This is, in addition to being a fairly good-looking quartz movement, watchmaker built, watchmaker serviced, lifetime reliable. That's your lifetime and maybe the watch beyond yours. It is accurate to 10 seconds a year and thermocompensated, always a distinction among quartz calibers. It is as accurate as a Breitling Super Quartz, as a quartz chronometer, and the 9F61 is luxury quartz done right. At $3,800, the Grand Seiko Tough Quartz is a luxury sports watch that is done right. Okay. Viewers Shots number 4. Tim Q treats us to a rare Gerard Perregaux Traveler pictured while traveling. Samar M and Margot the Basset Hound stare in mutual admiration of the Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter. Dewey W of Indiana is in Hawks Neck, Australia with his Citizen Eco Drive. There you are, Dewey. Jesse from Salt Lake City prepares for an event with the Seiko 7002 diver, and King W takes us home with his incredible Omega X33 late phase pre-production prototype and Mitten the Kitten. Send your wrist shots to Monday Mailbag at thewatchbox.com to see your watch on this box. Guys, thank you. Thanks to Nick. He was like a champ tonight. He's new on the switcher, but he did an awesome job on a very graphic intensive show. Time out, Tim out. Check out my Facebook group. Check out the watch. And thanks for logging on.